With warm weather coming on, farmers across the country are watching for emergence of their crops, but they're also watching for emergence of weeds. And over the last decade, more American farmers have turned to Enlist beans from Corteva as a solution for some of their hard-to-solve weed management challenges. Well, joining us now is Hunter Bowman. Hunter works as a market development specialist with Corteva Agriscience. And Hunter, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Absolutely, Mike. I'm excited to talk with you about the Enlist weed control system.
Well, let's start with the basics here. What does Enlist bring to the table, and how can farmers utilize the multiple modes of action to keep everything working well in their fields?
So, when we talk about Enlist, Enlist is a trait within our genetics, and it's a part of the system. So within the Enlist system, you've got the Enlist trait in our genetics that allows for Enlist 1 and Enlist 2 herbicides to be applied over the top. When we talk about those herbicides specifically, or any herbicide in general with weed control, we always want to incorporate multiple effective modes of action. What I mean by that is, a herbicide that's going to have activity on a weed, we want more than one of those in each application. So when we start to get in, 3 or more herbicides in a tank mix application, at least 2 of those herbicides are generally going to have activity on your weeds that you're targeting. So when we look at, Enlist 1 specifically, we like to add glufosinate or Roundup as a tank mix partner. This allows us to get multiple herbicides on a weed so that we can get more effective control. And then it also prolongs that weed to surviving and then evolving and creating resistance issues.
That makes a lot of sense, Hunter. And as I understand it, Enlist, you can tank mix lots and lots of other products with it. Is that right?
So the beautiful thing about Enlist 1 herbicide and Enlist Duo is that we've got over 1,700 approved tank mix partners. So just about anything that you can think of that you want to throw in there to target, problematic weeds in your field is probably going to be on our improved list. We do recommend that you always go check enlisttankmix.com and make sure that those herbicides that you're wanting to add in are approved tank mix partners with Enlist 1 herbicides, but most likely you're going to find it.
All right. Let's talk about getting it started. What's the best way to start this growing season for growers?
So, as we move into the growing season, I like to start with a good burn down application. So early spring, coming out of the end of the winter, something that's going to get out there and control those winter annual weeds and grasses that have emerged since your last cropping season. We've got great options with Enlist 1 that you can put out for, to control those winter emerging weeds. We've also got another great product with Elevore that gets used a lot early spring to control a lot of those problematic weeds as we move into the growing season. Once we do that, we get a clean field and then we're ready to plant. When we come in and plant, we like to put something out behind that planter that's going to give us some pre-emergence control. So to give us, a few weeks of weed control as we move into the season, something that's going to help control those weeds. We've got great options. We've got some new options this year, actually the first year on the market with Kyber Pro. That's going to incorporate 3 effective modes of action into a single jug. So you can add 1 jug to your tank, make an application. You've got 3 different herbicides out there controlling weeds as they emerge. And then another great option is going to be Sonic Boom, another new herbicide for us this year. And then we start to move into, those post applications.
And that's it. Once that crop is up, of course, those weeds will be trying to poke their way back up again. How do we keep that field clean?
So once, we get into those post applications, so the crop's up, we've had a few weeks, weeds are starting to emerge, those residual herbicides are starting to wear down. That's when we're going to come in with those post applications. So once again, Enlist 1 and Enlist Duo are great options. We're going to recommend that you incorporate something else in the tank with those, so something like glufosinate, Roundup, and then even a residual herbicide. So, oftentimes we put out a residual at planting and then we forget about it as we move in those post applications. So Enlist 1, glufosinate are going to control those weeds that have emerged during that time period. And then we can add something in there like our preferred tank mix partner, Inversa, which is also a new herbicide commercially available this year from Corteva. That's going to give you, another 4 to 6 weeks of residual control of weeds as they start emerging. So it really prolongs that time that you're getting out of that herbicide application.
Absolutely. Gives your crops a chance to really get their legs under them, get out ahead of these weeds. And of course, for some folks, it's maybe been 9 months, a year since they last ran their sprayer. Any things we ought to remember or tips for us as we get back into that spraying season?
So this is the fun part for me because I grew up on a farm running a spray rig. So, a lot of times when we go to making those herbicide applications, we forget to check a few things. So one thing is that, that sprayer's been sitting up all year. We want to flush it out, make sure that we've got a clean sprayer going into the season, that we've got nothing in there that's going to harm our crop. And then also, look at our nozzles. What kind of nozzles do we have on our sprayer? Are they going to be the correct nozzles to make the herbicide application that we're trying to make, and then keep our pressure on that spray rig in the right range? uh, Using full rates of herbicides. I know oftentimes with commodities where they are these days, it's easy to try to look at places where we can cut. Herbicides is not going to be the place that you want to cut, because you're just going to promote that resistance, and it's going to give you bigger problems down the road to deal with. With Enlist Duo, it's going to be about 4.75 pints per acre, and then Enlist One is going to be 2 pints per acre, or 32 ounces.
Hunter, where would you send our audience if they want to learn more about Enlist beans from Corteva?
If you want to learn about it, Enlist beans that we offer, I'm going to recommend that you reach out to your Pioneer field rep or field agronomist to learn more information. We've got local guys all over the country.
Fantastic, folks. Check that out. Hunter Bowman, Market Development Specialist with Corteva Agriscience. Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank y'all for having me.
And if you'd like, you can get more information on the website as well. That's at enlist.com.